Hi, welcome, and today we are going to be making some fresh mushroom and beef stroganoff in the Instant Pot. We're so excited to show you this recipe and how we do it at home, and we make it delicious and without any processed ingredients, and so it's all fresh here. We're super excited, and we're also going to show you how we like to make kale and ginger and cranberry salad with kale fresh from our garden.
Yes.
The kale that the cow did not eat. She ate 4 out of our 6 plants of kale, so we have a little kale harvest today. Just a small one though. Okay, so we'd also like to welcome the Instant Pot 101 for Beginners group. We're so glad that you guys have joined us today. And thank you to Gail Bell for moderating comments and answering questions. We so appreciate you being here, Gail. And we just wanted to say hi and give you a shout out. And so let's get started. We're going to show you all the ingredients and show you how we make this dish. Okay, so we have, of course, ground beef, and that's 1.5 pounds of ground beef. We've got fresh mushrooms, and this is 1 pound of fresh mushrooms. A red onion, but you can use any onion that you have. Garlic, 6 cloves of garlic. And then to really add flavor, we have nutmeg and whole caraway seeds. And then we use our homemade chicken broth that we make in the Instant Pot. This is 1 quart. And we love these Spätzle egg noodles from Aldi. And then at the end, we cook a little bit of vermouth in the main part, and then we add a little bit at the end for some fresh, light vermouth flavor, and then sour cream to add yummy creaminess. And of course, salt for seasoning. So let's get started.
Okay.
I'm gonna add the ground beef. I've already got the Instant Pot on saute, and so it's preheating. I love this wooden spatula. Some people call it a spurtle, and it is really great, and it's great for breaking up ground meat because it's really stout and hefty, and it just makes it really easy to break up ground beef, especially for kids. If you want to use a different kind of ground meat, you can use ground turkey or ground chicken in this, and it will still be delightful, I am sure. Okay, so Abigail is going to show us how to chop up the onion.
Okay.
She needs her knife. Abigail is wearing a cut glove. We like to use a cut glove, and it just adds a layer of protection for the kids as they're learning how to chop and use a knife properly. So show us how we do this, Abigail.
Okay, so you have 2 ends of an onion. You have a stem end and a root end. So what we're going to do is you can either cut it or pinch it. I like pinching it because it's kind of hard to cut it. And we're just going to pinch off those little hairs because you do not want them in your food. They taste gross. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take the stem end and you're just going to cut that off like that. So, and then you put that in your trash bowl, and now you have a flat surface to put your onion on. And then you just go down the middle like this, and then you take the first layer of paper and gross stuff, and you
kind
put
of a papery layer of onion that you don't want in your food, and you can kind of see the difference. Okay, I'm going to show the difference here. So see how this is so nice and shiny, and this is kind of papery and more fibrous looking. So just want to peel down to the nice fresh looking onion.
So then what you're going to do is you're just going to cut this in columns, or we like to call it rays of the sun. So we cut it just like that all the way across. And then you cut it into dices like this. And all the way down to the end of your rays, your columns. And then if there's still a little extra, you can just cut that off into dices. And that's how you dice an onion.
There you go. And then we like to put this in our trash bowl and save it for our homemade bone broth like what we're going to use in this recipe. Okay, so I'm going to add some other seasonings here. We're going to go ahead and add a teaspoon of salt. This little spoon is a 1/4 teaspoon. So we're going to add 4 of those to our meat to just season up our meat. Our chicken broth that we use is without salt. We don't add any salt so that at the end, when we're ready to use it, we have space to add the amount of salt required for that particular recipe. So I'm going to show you how we chop up garlic. So this is a bulb or head of garlic, and these are called cloves of garlic. And we like to take a meat mallet, the flat side of a meat mallet, and just give each head or each clove a good whack. And that breaks the paper. It takes forever to peel that off if you don't break that paper. And it's just, the paper comes right off if you will just break it with a mallet first. And it kind of pre-crushes your garlic and gets it almost partially chopped for you. I'm just going to put that one in the broth bowl. You don't have to cut off the ends, but you might want to cut it. Well, you will want to cut off any bad spots that you might see on your fresh garlic. You can use any kind of garlic that you have on hand in this recipe, but we have found that once we've sort of streamlined the process of peeling the garlic and chopping it, it's just become plenty easy to use fresh garlic. But sometimes in a pinch, or if we're in a hurry, or if we've run out of fresh garlic, we will just use the powdered kind or the jarred kind. And there's also a frozen minced garlic in the freezer section at probably a more high-end grocery store. So any other kind of garlic that you have on hand is great, but fresh is always best if you have it. I love this time of year when you can find the fresh garlic produced in the United States. It's always fun to look at where the produce is made and find the one that's made in the USA, or grown in the USA, really. So Abigail, you can go ahead and add your onion to the pot while that beef is sauteing.
Okie dokie.
We like to go ahead and saute a lot of our ingredients in the Instant Pot while we're preparing the other ingredients, and that sort of preheats everything and gets it, it allows the Instant Pot to come up to pressure a lot quicker. So we have here about 6 cloves of garlic, and here's our chopper. Okay, Abigail's going to stir that a little bit.
Starting to brown.
It is. So you want to keep an eye on the bottom of your pot and make sure that no brown bits stick to it, because it can make it hard for the Instant Pot to come to pressure, and you might get the burn notice. Okay. So I'm going to show you all my handy chopper. This is a great tool for little ones to use. You can even have your 5-year-old step in and help. They could stand on a stool and you have your hands around them and hold this down while they get the pleasure of pounding on the chopper. So we love this chopper. It allows little ones to help in the kitchen and get started cooking with you. So that's pretty great, pretty finely minced there. And you can see how quick that goes. There it is. And then this is called a bench scraper. It's a lot of times used by bakers for scraping dough, but it's really handy for grabbing things off your cutting board. And then just sprinkle that garlic right in there. Smells amazing. And okay, I want to show you also another fresh ingredient that we like to use, and that's whole nutmeg. It's kind of new to me in my adult life, but I wanted to show you, this is what it looks like when it's still in its shell, and I don't know if you can hear that. It's kind of, the little nut is inside, and then this is a broken one. So you can see this is your actual nutmeg. And then here is what it looks like when it's completely peeled. And then you take the, here's what it looks like once you've begun to grate it on a fine grater. So this is the grater that we like to use. Microplane is a great brand because they have really sharp graters. And then this recipe calls for a teaspoon of fresh grated nutmeg. If you just have ground nutmeg in a jar at home, use it. But I would encourage you to try these little nutmegs because you'll be amazed at how much more flavorful they are. Okay, so I'm just gonna, can I have that plate, please? I just wanted to show them how it's gonna look. So I'm gonna go ahead and just grate this onto here. And then you'll see that freshly grated nutmeg right there. And I'm gonna say that's about a teaspoon. The nutmeg adds such a wonderful warm flavor to creamy foods, and this is gonna be creamy at the end. We're not gonna cook any cream in the Instant Pot because you don't wanna put dairy in the Instant Pot while it's trying to cook under pressure. It will probably scorch the bottom of your pan and not come to pressure. But at the end, we're going to add cream, and this nutmeg is going to just season up our beef and our creamy sauce. So you can see all this cooking up really nicely in here. Traditional beef stroganoff is made with stew meat or a tough roast that gets stewed. But we like to make the budget version. It's a little bit more affordable for our family by doing ground beef, and it still tastes fantastic. So this next ingredient we're going to put in is caraway seed. So I wanted to show you this caraway seed I bought in the bulk section at really my favorite grocery store at Central Market. It's a very nice grocery store that we have here in Texas. But you probably have a good grocery store in your area that might sell bulk spices. I would really encourage you to find the bulk spice section in your area and try it out. So this is 2 ounces of caraway. I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon, and I'm just going to sprinkle it in on my meat. But I wanted to show you this little baggie at my bulk store cost 84 cents, and it was over 2 ounces because I had it pretty much full, and it was just 84 cents, where the McCormick or the little jars of caraway seed at Walmart right now in my town for 2 ounces are about $4. So you can see that that's a quarter of the price, less than a quarter of the price for a huge amount of a spice. And so that way it doesn't bust your budget when you're trying a new recipe and buying spices, and you can just buy the small amount that you want. Sometimes it'll be like 18 cents for the amount that you need for that recipe if you're not sure you're going to use a lot of it. So if you would also, I would be so curious to know if you guys have a bulk spice grocery store in your town that has bulk spices. Go ahead and put that in the comments and tell us what area you're in. That might help other viewers. So here we have Central Market, we have Sprouts, and I think some Kroger's have bulk spice section, and Whole Foods. Okay, so we've got in here our ground beef, our garlic, onion, nutmeg, and caraway, and it's just so flavorful. And next we're gonna chop up some mushrooms. So our family loves fresh mushrooms, and I might have you chop a few to expedite the process, but I'll show them how. Yeah. There you go.
Thanks.
Mushrooms are one of the only places in nature that you can actually get vitamin D in your diet besides vitamin D milk. Okay, so fresh mushrooms, we just rinse these off. Sometimes they actually have real dirt on them, so you'll want to rinse that. And then I like to lay it on the sides so that it's more stable and not as wobbly. And just go down and slice that. I like big pieces of mushroom. If your family is a little bit mushroom averse. You could try this using fewer mushrooms and maybe chopping them up finer. I have one child who used to profess hating mushrooms, and he has come to the bright side. And through just having him, encouraging him to try one mushroom every time we had mushrooms, and now he has grown to, I'm not sure if he loves them, but at least tolerate them and appreciate them. So I would encourage you to try them. They're so good for you. They have a lot of great minerals in them, and of course the vitamin D, and they just taste fantastic, especially in this dish. Okay. Another way that I have grown to really love mushrooms, which 5 years ago I probably would have never dreamed I would enjoy this, but I love sauteing up a few mushrooms and putting them under a fried egg in the morning, sauteing it up in butter. It's just one of my favorite breakfasts. Okay, so here you can actually see a little bit of dirt. I'm just going to wipe that off. Got my rag over here. Okay, just keep chopping. Abigail, what else do we like mushrooms in?
I don't know.
Beef stroganoff.
Beef stroganoff. We also. I don't remember. We've usually.
Oh, spaghetti.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
They're fabulous in spaghetti and other Italian dishes. We like to make like mushroom soup. Okay, so I'm going to put these in. And the mushrooms, you just going to want to cook them a little bit in the ground beef, and then they'll cook the rest of the way when you're pressure cooking. So I'm going to reach over here and grab some more mushrooms. And this is a lot of mushrooms because my family loves them. But if you need to cut back on the mushrooms and cut them up really fine, do that. Try it. Try it with your family. Okay. Abigail's got a few more coming here. There we go. You can even leave that last one out if you want.
We're almost finished. So.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to tell you about these noodles. So these are egg noodles from Aldi, and we love them. They're about $2 a bag, and this is a 17.6 ounce bag. It's about half a kilo, and I think that's why it's kind of the odd measurement for us Americans who are on the English system. But the recipe calls for about 1 pound of pasta or egg noodles, and you could use any pasta that you like. And some brands are going to have 16 ounces, and like I said, this has 17 ounces of egg noodles. This is a very large recipe. It's going to serve 8 adults, and the leftovers are fantastic. Okay, we're getting very full here. Okay, and next, so the rule of thumb for cooking any kind of noodle or pasta is to use 1 quart of liquid to 1 pound of pasta. So this is 1 quart of our homemade chicken broth, and we're just going to pour that right in on top. And you can see the liquid is still down well below the volume maximum. And then I'm going to put in about 6 ounces of dry vermouth. And if you prefer to use a cooking sherry or a cooking white cooking wine, feel free. You could also use red wine if you have that on hand. All the alcohol is going to cook out of this while it's under pressure, so it'll just leave behind the flavor. Okay, so I'm going to just stir this together and get these noodles to go kind of down into that liquid. And Abigail, do you want to cut off that stick of butter? And we're just going to use half a stick of butter, because usually you serve beef stroganoff over buttered egg noodles. So we're going to put the butter on top and let that kind of butter our egg noodles. Okay. So I'm kind of crunching up a few of those noodles, which is going to be great for my kids because it's a little easier to eat when they're crunched up. Okay, so let's put that butter in. Oh, there we go. And we're just going to leave that butter on top and close it up. There's the lid. I'm going to make sure that my valve is on sealing and not venting. This is the Ultra, so it automatically seals in most cases. Every now and then it'll kind of stick. So you just want to check that. And then I'm going to press cancel from it being on saute. Actually, I heard it beep earlier and I think it was already had canceled itself. We're going to change it up to pressure cook. And we're going to select that. Okay, the rule of thumb for cooking noodles or pasta in the Instant Pot is to look at the directions on the bag and divide the lower number in half. And then whatever that number is, if it's an odd or a half number, round down. So on these egg noodles, the instructions said to cook the noodles for 12 to 14 minutes. And so we're going to cut the lower number in half, and that's 6 minutes. If your bag of pasta says, or bag of noodles says like 11 minutes, then you would cut that in half. That's 5.5, and then you would round down to 5 minutes because you don't want your noodles overcooking in the Instant Pot. So we're selecting 6 minutes here. And then if you need to change that time, you can turn the knob. And if you have a Duo or a Luxe, you're going to press the plus or minus buttons to change the time. And then we're going to select the 6. We're going to turn it here and change the pressure. We actually are going to keep it on high pressure. If your machine has a low pressure, then make sure it's on high for this recipe. And then we don't want to delay, and we do want to keep it warm. Delay function would work well for this recipe because there's no really raw ingredients in here, and you could safely delay this for a little while. So now that's going to come up to pressure and go ahead and cook for a few minutes, and we're going to make our salad here in a minute. But I just wanted to share with you, last week, it was my husband gave me flowers, and because it was our anniversary the next day, and we've been married for 21 years, and our kids really blessed us Friday night on our anniversary by preparing a meal for us, and it was just such a sweet act of love that they did for my husband and I, and it was so fun. They prepared a menu, and Rachel found ingredients. I think they used the Julia Child Mastering the Art of French Cooking cookbook for almost all the recipes. They made a menu, and she translated everything into French. I don't know if you were following us on Instagram, but that story was on there, and so it was so fun. The kids actually took over our Instagram feed, and it was super fun to watch that throughout the day. But it was delightful. They had the little girls. The little girls helped with the cooking too, but they also danced little ballet for the entertainment while we were eating. And do you want to tell what do you want to tell about it?
It was amazing. I loved it. And we had cake.
It started raining, so we have a good porch that we love to eat out on, and they had everything set up on the porch, and then in came the rain, and it blew over the vase of flowers, and we had to move inside. So they kind of had to pinch hit and set everything up inside, and it was just fabulous.
It was better than it would have been outside.
Yes, it was. It was so amazing, and they just really blessed me and my husband with their act of service, and I just felt like it was such a wonderful time. And I just wanted to encourage you that your family can learn to cook that well. And it's taken years of letting the kids in the kitchen and spending time with them. It's pretty awesome to spend time with kids one-on-one in the kitchen. It's a great way to have one-on-one time with a kid or two. And then other times we get the whole crew in here, and we're all cooking. You know, someone will be chopping an onion, someone will be browning the meat, someone will be washing vegetables. So it can be a great family activity together. And I just want to encourage you that there can be a lot of fruit from bringing your kids in the kitchen with you and spending that time with them. And at the end of it, you also have a meal. So that's pretty great. And now it's super fantastic to have older kids, because you can do other pursuits and the older kids can cook a whole meal. And it's kind of like having a kitchen staff, which is pretty darn awesome, I gotta say. Teenagers are so capable, and I'm so thankful for mine.
So now we get to make kale salad.
Yes, we're gonna make kale salad. So this came out of our garden. This is the kale that the cow did not eat. And this is kind of a copycat recipe from a Central Market kale salad that we love. It's so good. And I wanted to just show you, you do want to get rid of these tough stems, and you can do it a few different ways. So one of them is to just rip this off and just rip out that tough stem and set it aside. And Abigail, you can go ahead and start doing that too, girl. And I can already smell it. Kale has such a nice green, earthy smell. It can be a little bit bitter, so you want to counteract that bitter flavor when you're cooking with it or making a salad. But it just is so good for you. It has so many nutrients, and it's delicious in this recipe. We love it. If you don't want to tear this with your hands, I'll show you how to cut it with your knife. Okay, on this one. So you can just take this rib and just cut this stem right out if you prefer to do that. But it's kind of fun to, when you're working with children, to just let them get their hands on the food. It allows them to just kind of be more familiar with it, and it just allows them to touch the food and feel what it's going to be like and enjoy eating it. I think they enjoy eating it more if they participated in making it. So I said kale can be kind of bitter. So another way that I like to mitigate that in this salad is to just chop it up really finely. And I'm just keeping my fingers back and holding it down and chopping it with my good sharp knife. And then I'm going to turn the whole pile and go over it again so it's nice and fine and you don't have big chunks of kale in your mouth. Okay, now I'm going to get Abigail started on chopping up this ginger. So, do you want to tell them what this is?
This is candied ginger, and it is so good. And it's from Central Market, I think.
Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's. It's from Trader Joe's, and it's uncrystallized.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it better that way. It's so good. But it does have a little bit of a spice to it.
It's sweet and spicy. So we chop it up really fine. The chopper does not really work very well. The Instant Pot, not the Instant Pot, the food processor does a good job of chopping up this ginger if you have a big batch, but just a knife is pretty great to use. So she's going to chop up that yummy ginger. I took a bite of it and it's really peppery.
Your
and
breath
spicy.
Smells so good after that. So you can just sticks.
Now my little girls enjoy it a little bit because it's sweet, but then it kind of gets a little peppery.
Yeah,
So the smaller pieces you can get, the better. It's a little sticky for chopping. That's why it doesn't work in the chopper, because it's so sticky. You doing okay there?
Yeah.
Okay. In a second, we're going to make a homemade dressing out of lemon juice and olive oil and a little bit of raw honey.
It's delicious.
It is delicious. But that'll add the little bit of acid, a little bit of tart flavor and sweet, and then the oil just, what does the oil do? It kind of adds a smoothness. Also, a lot of green leafy vegetables are, they have a lot of nutrients in them, but some of those nutrients are fat soluble, and the only way that your body can get the nutrients from them is by eating them with oil or fat of some kind, and that way your body can take the nutrients out that are fat soluble. So I always think it's really ironic when people try to eat, anytime I've tried to eat steamed broccoli with no butter, it's just not appealing. And when I read the research that showed that you need fat in order for your body to get the nutrients out of the green leafies, it was like, no wonder I always need butter with my green leafy veggies. Okay, so here is the honey, and this is honey actually from our local farm, and I don't know why. It's learning that Abigail's probably going to do. It crystallized immediately, even though it's pretty fresh. So I'm just going to put a little honey in this jar, and then we're going to add the lemon juice to that. Juice from 1 lemon. And here is my little jar, and I'm going to juice it into here. It's actually my measuring cup. So we're going to cut this lemon in half. Okay. A lemon is going to give you the most juice if it's room temperature, and if you kind of roll it around,
Same with
a
the
little
lime.
bit. Same with a lime, same with an orange, to just kind of loosen up that juice. So I'm going to cut that in half and then start juicing this. Look at that, come right out. Yummy. I might just start with half a lemon and see how that goes. Okay, so we're going to set that aside, and I'm going to pour that on the honey, and since it's kind of crystallized, I'm going to stir that by itself to dissolve it before we add any of the oil to it. And that's going to give this a nice sweetness to kind of counteract the bitter kale and the tart lemon. Okay. So I'm also gonna, it's still not dissolving, so I'm gonna put the lid on. Okay, the ginger has a lot of fibers. Okay, so we're just mixing this up, and that's gonna dissolve that honey. I love making my own salad dressing because I realized it was easy after trying it a few times. But when I make my own salad dressing for my family, I get to put in whatever kind of oil I want and whatever kind of ingredients I want. So there's no sugar in it that I don't want for my family. Most dressings you'll find are loaded with soybean oil and other flavors and chemicals that you won't necessarily like. Like I started being gluten-free. I'm not gluten-free now, but when I went through that process, I had to read labels like a hawk to try to find hidden wheat in ingredient lists. And I realized when I was having to read the whole label, it was like, oh, soybean oil, I don't really want to eat that. Soybeans are mostly GMO, and they're a really refined oil, and so I just found a whole lot of ingredients that were like, I don't really want to eat that. I don't really want to feed that to my family. So this is just extra virgin olive oil, lemon, and raw honey. So there's nothing else in it that's not good for you. I'm adding a little pinch of salt here. Okay. You got
this done.
Yay!
Very fine.
Very fine. So sprinkle it on here, girl. And I will cut up these cranberries. The cranberries are not quite as sticky as the ginger.
Nope.
So we're doing about, what was that? About a quarter cup?
Yeah, I bet so.
Of the ginger. And I've got my little dressing here. More lemons if I need them. And now we're just going to chop up these cranberries. Like I said, the cranberries and the ginger don't chop too well in the little chopper, but they do great in the food processor or just with a knife. I would really encourage you and your family to invest in a good knife because it will make the biggest difference for a single tool in your kitchen. Is having a nice sharp knife that it just cuts down on the frustration level. And it's also safer to have a sharp knife than a dull knife. And it's also safer. You know, sometimes I used to choose the knife based on, well, I'm only chopping one thing, so I'll choose a small knife. And that's not how you choose a knife. So I would try to chop an onion with a small little...
paring knife?
Not a paring knife, but a skinny... I had no idea.
Knife?
It was not even a steak knife. It might have been like a boning knife or something. And it was actually really dangerous to try to do that. You need a knife that is going to be the best knife for the job. And this knife we got it off of Amazon, and it's a Shun knife, and it's great for almost every job, really, except kind of paring and getting eyes out of potatoes and things. You don't want to use it for that. But it's a great all-purpose knife. So if you're going to invest in knives, I would encourage you to just buy one great chef's knife, or this one is a Santoku knife. Buy one great chef's knife or Santoku knife and a paring knife, and forget about the giant knife block. So the last thing that goes in this simple salad is...
Do we cut it up?
Nope. Pepitas, which is another name for pumpkin seeds. So these are the green pumpkin seeds, and you can buy those in bulk at a lot of stores. And they just add a lot of crunch to this salad. Okay, so our honey is all dissolved. So in here we have lemon, honey, and salt. And now we're going to add some, I'm going to taste it, just kind of see it if it's the right sweetness and tartness. Yeah, it is. Okay, so now we're going to put in some olive oil. This is just extra virgin olive oil. And the measurement is a quarter cup of olive oil. Now, our 1 cup little measuring pitcher keeps breaking, but these little jars are half a pint, which is exactly 8 ounces, all the way to the brim. So up to here is a quarter cup, and this is half a cup, this is 3/4, and this is 1 cup. So this is about a quarter of a cup, so I want another quarter of a cup of olive oil, so I'm just going to fill it up about to the halfway line. And you can see it go in there. And there you go. So any salad dressing that you make, you're going to want to have an acid like vinegar or lemon juice. Rice vinegar is good if you're going to make an Asian dressing. And then oil, and then your flavorings like the honey. So if you want a little sweetness, you can add honey. You don't have to have sweetness. We also have a dressing that we like to make that has a tomato paste as the acid. Okay, here we go. So we're just going to pour this on. This kale holds up really well in the fridge. So this is even better if you can let it sit for a couple of hours before you eat it. And I had some tongs. Here we are. So we're just going to toss this with our tongs. And you can see this makes such a beautiful salad. Kale, this is Texas in May and it's still growing, but kale is typically a colder weather veggie, and so this would be a great holiday salad because it's got that wonderful cranberry in there. And it looks so delicious. Looks so good. I'm going to taste it for seasoning here. Try to get a little bite that has all the things on it.
Is it good?
It's good. Do you want to taste?
Sure.
Okay. So that's really good right as soon as it's done. So if we let this sit in the fridge for about 30 to 45 minutes, it's going to be awesome.
That is delicious.
That's delicious. So we're super thankful to have kale from our garden. So we'll put that in the fridge for a few minutes, and this has been under pressure for 2 minutes. It has 4 minutes left of its cooking time. And we're gonna just clean up some of these things. Here's the lid for the honey. Okay, tell us about our cleanup routine in the kitchen.
Oh, so our dishwasher broke 2 weeks ago?
Just 1 week.
A week ago?
It kind of had a slow death.
Yeah.
It was like nothing's getting clean.
So we were running it over and over again, and then we finally found out, like with the same load for like 3 times, and we finally found out that there was no water going to the dishwasher. So we had Mommy put it on our docket, 1,000,000 dishes to wash, and it really was. And it was like an hour process. But it cleaned up the whole kitchen, and so we've been talking about taking out our dishwasher and just having us putting in a farm sink and taking out our dishwasher and putting cabinet space there, and then having a farm sink, and then we can just do that. Because I'm the dishwasher loader, and so I've been washing the dishes, and so this is our trial for the week to see if we like it. And I'm actually really enjoying washing all the dishes. I don't mind it at all.
So I've thought about Carolyn Ingalls, and how simple, when you read the Laura Ingalls Wilder books, how simple their process of cleaning up the kitchen was because they just had a few things. Here in first world America, we've got a tool for everything. We've got multiples of everything, and that allows us to pile up with dirty dishes sometimes. And so I've just sort of craved the simplicity of having less and then less to take care of. But these awesome kids, that was their idea. They were like, we could just do this all the time. I'm not so sure, because I really think our dishwasher is a pretty great tool. But I love their attitudes that they're optimistic and have servant-hearted enough to be willing to consider that. But I wanted to say, when I was growing up, we each had a turn to do the dishes. And so every night it was someone else's turn to do the dishes. We had to clean up the whole kitchen by ourselves. And that was always miserable for all of us because, first of all, we argued about whose turn it was. And then we were all in there by ourselves alone while everyone else went out and played, and we never could remember, because then we would have one night where it was like paper plate night and there were no dishes. Can't remember whose it was. So in our house, we've just kind of gradually added jobs as we're cooking for 9 and sometimes 11 because we live near my husband's parents. So that's a lot of dishes in our kitchen, and so we have several different jobs, and we keep the jobs for a few months. Sometimes the kids are like, Mommy, it's been several months, can we please switch jobs? But we have somebody who hand washes the pots and pans. I'm going to pause on that story. We want to quick release this because it's noodles and we don't want them to overcook. Noodles are really starchy and we have a full pot, so we want to make sure we stay close, and I'm reaching here and not getting my hand under the steam. But I'm going to release it, but stay close so that if any starch should start spewing out, we're not going to panic. We're just going to reach over here and you can easily stop the pressure from coming out. Stop the steam from coming out if it starts to spurt. It's no big deal. The worst thing a person could do is panic and try to move their Instant Pot when it's under pressure. And that's when you could have a problem on your hands. You don't want to do that. So we're going to add just another little 1/4 cup of the vermouth at the end to have a bright raw flavor. And it's still very hot in there, and you can feel free to leave this out if you're not comfortable with that, or use a cooking sherry. But this is how we enjoy it. Okay, so I was going to keep telling you about our cleanup routine in our kitchen, if you can hear me while that's spewing. So we have somebody who does the pots and pans, somebody who unloads the dishwasher, somebody who loads the dishwasher, somebody who clears the counters. The little girls, one of them puts away the silverware, that's the 4-year-old, and the 6-year-old cleans off the table. So as I'm sure you can imagine and have experienced in your house, it's great to have a family that cooks together, enjoys great meals together, but then you can be left with a messy kitchen. And so I also want to encourage you to settle some jobs in your family, work together. We love to turn on fun music and just groove and sing and listen to music while we clean up the kitchen. And I also love setting goals of a time amount. Hey, do you think, when we did 1 million the other day, it was like, do you think we could get this all done in 30 minutes? Because it was a massive amount of dishes that we were washing. And I think it ended up taking us more than that, but we got it done a lot quicker because we set a goal and tried to work towards that. Another helpful thing about it, that these guys don't even know yet, is I can see how well a person is doing at the skill of washing pots. If it's one person's job for a couple months, then we can work on that skill in each child and know kind of where they need more training from me. Or, hey, they're a pro at this and I could add something to them, or trust them with that job on their own. So it's pretty great. So this is almost down from pressure. You can hear it kind of getting lower and lower. We're going to add our sour cream here in just a second. I love that caraway in there. It just adds such a yummy flavor. The caraway and nutmeg and garlic, and it's smelling so good. When you cook things in the Instant Pot and it kind of goes in layers, one of the things you always need to do at the end is to stir it all really thoroughly, because you don't want all of the meat stuck at the bottom. We're going to eat this today with the kale salad, but if we don't have salad, we love to have like frozen peas or frozen green beans or frozen broccoli. We eat a lot of frozen veggies around here because it's an easy step, and to just have that kind of already prepared and not have to chop up whatever the thing is. And then of course we always add butter and salt to those at least, if not some, I don't know. Which one of those is your favorite?
Of broccoli, green beans.
Mm-hmm. Of the veggies that we eat.
I like broccoli.
Broccoli.
Broccoli with lots of butter.
And salt. Don't forget the salt.
Yes.
And
salt.
you also don't want to overcook broccoli.
It's mushy.
Do you guys, people who use an Instant Pot regularly, have you ever cooked broccoli in your Instant Pot, and how would you do that? I would probably do low pressure for 0 minutes if I were going to do that, but we just pretty much do broccoli on the stove. Okay, it's about to drop. And you can see that this has taken about 5 minutes. We've been releasing this for 5 minutes. So it just depends on how much pressure is in your Instant Pot, how much volume you have in there, how long it's going to take for that to completely release. So, but it's about to drop, I can tell. There it dropped. Okay, we're going to go ahead and open it. I'm going to keep my face away so the steam kind of goes away from me and kind of let it drain. One of the things I love about the Instant Pot is you have this little ear to put your lid in so you don't have a hot lid floating around. I'm going to go ahead and put my sour cream in now before we stir it, so that'll get all incorporated thoroughly. Oh, it smells so good and it looks so good. And you can see, even though those noodles were not completely covered, they were just enrobed with steam that whole time in the Instant Pot. So they are cooked through. We're going to pour in this little bit of dry vermouth. One of the things I enjoy about cooking with vermouth is that it doesn't go bad after it's been opened. So a lot of wine you only want to keep for a little while on hand, but vermouth stays fresh tasting just on the counter for a long time. Okay, yum. So there's a little bit of excess liquid right now in here. And if it's okay if you have some excess liquid when you cook pasta or noodles, if you just leave that in there, as long as you didn't put too much in to begin with, if you just leave your Instant Pot on for a couple of minutes, maybe while you're setting the table, that extra liquid will be absorbed by your noodles because they're still really hot. And if it's still too much, you can turn your Instant Pot on to saute and let some of that cook off. But I'm always surprised at how there can be a lot of liquid in, and then I walk away for a few minutes and come back and it's perfect. Okay, so let's see. I am going to cancel, and we're just going to leave this on keep warm. I think it was already on keep warm actually. I was thinking about putting it on saute though, to cook off just a little bit of that liquid. There we go. Okay. And I want to add a little bit of pepper. I didn't add black pepper yet, but some fresh cracked black pepper is going to be fantastic in here. And stir that in while it kind of absorbs a little bit more of that liquid. And then we're going to plate some up. Okay. So this is our yummy fresh mushroom beef stroganoff in the Instant Pot. And it looks so good. We've got that yummy ground beef in there. Ground beef is so simple because it's already basically cut up for you. Sometimes with children you can end up, oops, I got some stems. This is from our yard as well. So fun to grow things and get to eat them. Okay, I'm going to put another little sprig of pepper on there, sprinkle of pepper, and we can try it. Abigail's going to get a fork over here just in a second. This looks and smells so good. I'm going to cancel this so it doesn't scorch on the bottom. Is it turning off? Okay, great. Okay, we're going to taste it and see if it needs any salt. Right now we had only put 1 teaspoon in, so it may need a little bit of salt. It's hot! The Instant Pot cooks really, really hot, so you do not want to burn yourself taste testing. But taste testing is one of the funnest parts. Yes. It has great flavor. It does need a touch of salt. Again, if you use chicken broth that has salt in it, you're going to need less salt than we do because we did not have salt in it to begin with. So I'm going to go with a half a teaspoon. That was with our no salt chicken broth. So that's now a total of 1.5 teaspoons of salt. And then do you want to sprinkle a pinch on the plate?
Sure.
Okay, and look how this has thickened up quite a bit, and it just is like a noodles with creamy sauce on it. We would love for you to go to our website to get this recipe. It's fresh mushroom and beef stroganoff. And our website is thecookingfamily.com. And so we would love for you to go there. You can also sign up on there for our free Fearless Newbie Instant Pot mini course, where we show you kind of how to get started using your Instant Pot. And also, if you want to get notifications to see these live videos, please go and like us on Facebook. We're also on Instagram at The Cooking Fam. And we would love for you to go there, like us. Please share us with your friends who you think might benefit from watching this. And we just want you to remember that you can cook and enjoy great meals together with your family, because if we can, then anybody can. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks for being here today. Well, bye.